Well, good morning all. My name is Rob Bloemendal. I represent SNIA and I'm part of Nexent as Regional Sales Manager. Welcome to our SDS Automation Orchestration webcast from SNIA. And we'll give it one more minute for other people to join and then we will get started. Okay, here we go. Again, welcome to our SNIA webcast. SNIA is our technical council, a group of industry experts elected by SNIA members to oversee the technical work of the SNIA. It's a very common theme what we're doing. We have special community members like Don Beal, Bill Martin, Greg Carlson, Mark Carlson, Bruno Guet, Jean Hale, Arnold Jones, Fred Knight, Carl Pratt, Yukinori Sakashita, Leo Shoup, Adayan Singh, Dave Thiel, Doug Voigt, Steel Wilson, and Alan Yoder. A special thanks to these guys for making this all happen, and thanks to them we can do this presentation. Before we go into the orchestration and automation, I would like to take you through a little bit of SNIA, who we are and what we do in the market and how we help customers going through the big storage challenges from the last decade into the future. So we've got 160 member organizations around the world with 3,500 active member contributors, and we're servicing up to 50,000 IT end users and storage professionals. And we're doing that because we need standardization, we need ease of work, and we need the storage industry to work together as a one common theme. We've done it by introducing standards like Cloud Data Management, Storage Management Initiative, ISO certifications, PlugFest and community testing, especially also vendor neutral education and technology promotions. We've got more than 3,500 certified professionals and more than 5,000 certifications awarded. Next to that, we have 27 member organizations and specifically for the deliverables. And that's the kind of thing we're doing right now. The webcasts coming from industry specialists coming to get it all together in one common theme. That's sort of enough about SNIA at the moment. You can read more on the website, and I would like to take you through our software-defined storage. Software-defined storage now is a hype word. It's a buzz, it's alive, it's part of the software-defined data center. But software-defined storage promises us a big future, a future where we can do lots of different things with lots of commodity hardware, rather than the embedded storage systems and the big storage boxes we have now. We're looking to take it apart. So running it on all the commodity servers, running it on direct attached storage, running it on anything you would like, and also things which is coming out in future. We're trying to do that in the field, and the reason why we're trying to do it is saving costs for yourselves, for customers, and also having higher service levels, making sure we can deliver what we need to deliver with all the vast storage amounts which is still coming into our data centers. And what I mean with vast storage, you know, the new things like Internet of Things, that's so mind-boggling, the amount of data which will come in. We need to do it differently than we've done it in the past. And a couple of things are truly for that specific set, right? So it should allow customers to build it themselves, provide their own commodity hardware to create a solution with the provided software. Or it should work with arbitrary hardware, enhancing the existing functions of specialized hardware. It should include pools or other resources how we can combine things. Also, we should allow us to build storage and data services incrementally, not just what we have now, but hey, can I use the future stuff and bring it into the current environment I have tomorrow? Allowance for setting policies for managing the storage and data services, but also this aggregation of our storage and data services. How can I use in future metadata to help provisioning storage without the intervenience of our storage administrator? How can I do user-defined? How can I make my life easy in an automated way, just grabbing policies and making it work? How will we do that? Well, we need a couple of things, right? A couple of things like the flexible construction of services. We need to be able to separate and control the data planes. Also, deployment simplicity. If we zoom into in each of one of them, then it's clear that we need to think it differently. And we need to get all the data services away from storage and live it up to higher server levels, or their way define them where they should be. The downside of that is when you really bring it back from the embedded systems to higher abstraction layers, what is the impact on security and reliability? How can I make sure that that data I've stored for many, many years on the existing embedded systems, now driven from somewhere else, still has the same data resiliency and data readability in future, which I've relied on in the past? Another thing is, when I take it apart, what does it do to my security? Can I really live with it? Can I really depend on a software-defined storage? Or does it give me exponential risks? And am I willing to be okay with those risks? Or do I have a choice that for maybe some siloed applications, I would choose for direct data storage, still managed by software-defined, but handled differently in the background? Those kinds of questions we should look at, and the kinds of questions we should be answering before we make a move and do it across the board. That also should be part of orchestration. If it's not secure, or how do I tie the security into software-defined? Another thing is, there is no software-defined storage without data path fertilization. We need to be able to use existing paths and maybe use them differently than we've done in the past. And having data path fertilization alone is not part of software-defined storage. It is not software-defined storage. It should be embedded and be part of. Data path fertilization by itself cannot be software-defined, because software-defined gives you so much more things around it, rather than just the virtualization. So if we then look at the deployment simplicity, we need standardization on a lot of APIs. If we make it easy for users, and we make it easy for self-serviceability for users, it should not matter where it comes from. It should be easy to work with. It should be easy policy management. It should be easy orchestration. Nothing should hinder us for doing that. And that's why we're building those APIs. That's why we need the storage community to tap into it. And luckily, a lot of vendors are doing that already. And that's the kind of thing SNIA really embedded and really sent to the storage vendors. Hey guys, let's work together and let's make sure that whatever the choice of a customer is, we always call the standard APIs, and that makes it work. So the value map for software-defined storage is pretty wide. And what I mean with pretty wide is the fact that we need to be able to make it work with standard hardware as well as specialized hardware. And where the key thing for customers is, when I mean standard hardware, it shouldn't matter. When you're running software-defined storage, it will be run on a server. But does it matter which brand it is? No, it shouldn't matter. Does it matter which JBOD you're using? No, it shouldn't matter. Doesn't matter what kind of commodity disks or maybe SSDs or an all-flash array you're using? No, it shouldn't matter. It should just simply fit in. Fit in, why should it fit in? To reduce your cost. There's no way in future we can maintain the storage as we do with the vast amounts of data coming towards us. And if we continue to do it like that, your budgets are not growing as fast as what we're seeing in the market, but storage still is. And that's the kind of thing we need to get under control. And when we get it under control, right, there are new initiatives and new applications allowing for different storage architectures, or screaming for different storage architectures. So where in the past we all did a big storage array in an embedded system, and we could scale up only to a certain level. But what we're seeing in the market now, the demands from the customers are scale out. So how can we build a scale-out architecture? Just plugging in a new node and it extends the storage without any data migration, without any difficulties. That's something where the software-defined storage really should have a play. And then when we can do it like that, it enables us for incremental building of storage data service solutions and other technologies like the words of containers, right? Suddenly we are seeing the containers. Canonical is working for that for the last 5 years to get containers in people's mind, and how can we leverage those containers in such a way that is, again, easy to manage, easy with the new stateless applications. Essential to have if you want to build them. And then again, only good for usage if it's standardized. Now, if you look at separation of control on data planes, pooling of resources is really essential, right? So from a user perspective, I should know what my requirements are or what kind of SLA I want to have. And when I choose an SLA, it would show me what kind of performance requirements I can expect. If that's in place, then it's easy for a user to self-select and to be self-serviceable against the cost associated with it. And that's the kind of thing we should be able to do. And that immediately gets to the second point, metadata tagging. If we do that right thing with metadata and we send the request for the storage, what I need as a user, and I send back to them with the metadata, then with the metadata, it should automatically select what kind of storage requirements I have, but also what kind of storage will be provided immediately. That's the biggest thing these days, right? It will be a long run. It won't be a fast winning point. We need to learn. We need to learn the applications, we need to learn how to set policies, we need to learn how to educate the users what kind of requests for the metadata they should be asked to the storage. But it goes beyond the standard storage services. It goes beyond the standard storage admin work we do now. That will change. It will be far more in a serviceability mode than just pure administration mode. It will be moved to a policy-based mode than just providing a LAN or a disk to a certain application. And again, disaggregation of the storage and data services, really where we split the environment and where we can choose not just as one bulk, but make it tailor-made in a better cost-effective way. So from the deployment, and I repeat myself here, self-service interface that supports provisioning is essential for software-defined storage. If you don't provide it as a vendor to you as a user or to your user community, then it won't stay. Then it will not live up to the promise we all hope or we're all working for with SDS to really become that value point. And where we state may include policy-based management automation, I go a bit further. It should include policy-based management automation. Maybe not now, but certainly in the next 2 to 3 years, we have to have that as a standard in the software-defined storage industry. Without that, how can we simplify management of scale? How can we build the right scale-out architectures for you as the customer, rather than having that still tied in and not really open? Right? So it has to be open, and it has to work across the board, regardless hardware, commodity, or embedded systems. It's cross-platform. By the way, if you got any questions, please put them in the question box, and I will get back to you at the end of the presentation. So another thing, what we really need to have for software-defined storage to become a value for you is it should not matter what kind of data I have, whether it's file, whether it's block, whether it's object, or whether it's a container. The virtualization data path should provide you access to that storage layer. And like the picture underneath it, whether it's a flash system or a disk or a storage subsystem or a really large storage box, or where it's a scale-out architecture, it doesn't matter. Without the virtualization path, there is nothing to define. And that's crucial how we enable that and how we make sure we address it in the right way. And You can only address in the right way if we use, or not if, when we use the right management APIs. And that has to come from the industry itself, where we trying to play a key role from SNIA perspective, that we all adhere to the same protocol and we all adhere to the same management APIs. So standardization is essential. Must be programmatic? Absolutely. Without the capability of programming inside the API, we can't do the policy-based management or quality of services from the storage perspective into the user community. Or the user community cannot ask from their perspective of the metadata, which sort of controls the programmatics inside the API. How can we then ask for the right storage to be delivered? So, these two come very close, tied in together. And that allows for storage services to provide, through the management API, the capacity, the performance, what it can deliver, the availability, what kind of redundancy is built in, what kind of data availability do I have, what kind of data reliability do I have, how security tied into, what kind of security protocols are we using, and what kind of data paths I should be selecting or it should be hidden. But that's all part of the API, how you want to use it. As an example, what we're doing with that is our standard storage management initiative, where we have tied in that SMIS layer for heterogeneous storage management, and that's the first pass through how to work with the software-defined storage environment. Also, what we need to have, and that's coming from the storage administration perspective. If we do not allow the provisioning, the data protection, the data availability, the data performance, and the data security back into the user community, where they just can select it as a simple policy, we're back to the old days. And that means back to the old days, it's where the storage administrator then determines what is good for you as a customer, rather than the other way around. So we're going into the mode where the customer really starts to define and uses the storage based on the policy set from the storage environment. And these should be deployed dynamically. And what I mean with deployed dynamically is that what if a new storage comes out, like the member registers? What if that comes out, and how can I embed it, even if it's a few years ahead of the game? But that should be easily to be tied in and allow a new policy to be set up. Or when things change, where there's new scale-out architecture coming on board, or like the containers we're doing now, we're starting to deploy and starting to develop together. That should be new features, but also should be easy to be plugged into the data services from the storage management perspective. And when we combine that, then suddenly with the software-defined storage APIs, we now can select service levels. And when we use the metadata to match the requirements within the capabilities provided from the storage, now suddenly the administrator on the right has done its work before users are asking, rather than being reactive and working on the requirements from the user. And the user finds it hard to get the storage requirements fulfilled from storage. They always ask more. And it's like, oh, you give me a terabyte, maybe I need less, but it takes such a long time to be provisioned that I'll ask for more than I require now, but avoids the hassle in future. We move that from that perspective to the user-driven, where the storage administrator now has capabilities of setting the right policies with the right service levels, with the right cost associated to it. And now suddenly the customer has a choice. Hey, I need the bronze, I need the silver, or I need the gold. But based on the metadata requirements sent through the data and control path, you automatically have selected the right storage for your application, completely user-driven. So that allows us to be far more flexible, far more proactive from the storage perspective into the serviceability mode. And that gives customers the really easy choice, and also gives the storage administrator a better way of creating the serviceability and the granularity on how they provision their storage. Because with the metadata, it also gives you more information on the user requirements. So maybe from a storage perspective, we've always thought that I need that amount of storage for gold, that amount of storage for bronze, I need to scale up or I need to scale out, or how we define it. But in future, what we'll have with the metadata, it will give us a trend. And with the trend analysis, you can better scope what kind of storage you need to have in future so you can still fulfill the user requirements coming from the metadata data. And that's something, you know, we as storage should learn, and how we from storage should embed that into our orchestration for the future. It's a curve, and that's a nice thing. When you add all those components together, it really helps you from managing it to serviceability for it. Also, what is of course very important, failed resources should be removed from the pool. But also, if such a resource fails, you know who the users are. So it's an easy alert to the other users. And what if a pool fails? How easy should it be to fulfill from other resources in your environment and move the required data allocation and the data itself to an available pool without having the users to request a new environment? And with the data services virtualization path, we should be able to mitigate that risk and move data from one resource to another without any troubles for the end users. Again, maybe not here today, but certainly stuff we need to work on and things we can add to in the future. Right, so like new resources are added to the pools that need them. With the training from the metadata, again, with the user-defined requirements, it's easier to understand the requirements from the storage perspective, and you can, as a storage administrator, adhere to that and make sure it's there before customers are having troubles. Now, here's the cool thing for developing software. And why is such a cool thing? Because the software developers now are getting much more easy access to their data services. And that gives them a freedom of choice, but also a freedom of creating more content on a faster delivery method than they've ever done before. How easy would it be from their perspective that, hey, if I can control a bit of the storage requirements I have, and I can make choices in my application environment that some data should go to, for instance, scale-out block architecture, or some should go to a scale-out object architecture, and maybe some components should just stick on block-based flash architecture. And when you have those essential requirements from the application, because you know exactly what your application is doing, and you have the data management control on where my storage comes from, that really gives you the empowerment for software deliverable and develop more sophisticated software than we've done before. And that's something we look forward to seeing as well, is that with the metadata control inside the application software, it opens freedom, it opens a completely different market for new ways of developing applications. And maybe it's still further out, but that's things we're looking forward to. That's things where we see the requirements coming from the software developers' environments. And, you know, it comes back to whatever the storage guys provision and make available, that's usable from the top end. And with top end, I mean the software developers. So if you look at the big picture here, right, basically the software developers are the requirements, setting up the requirements, and the storage administrator is just providing service levels. That's all he does. And he needs to define them. And if the service levels are not in line with what the requirements are for the software deployers, then basically what the storage administrator has to do is build new policies. Policies with new technologies or existing technologies, but in a way that it meets the requirements for the software deployers. And that's a completely different way of working and how we can orchestrate things around it and especially automate it. So again, a completely different way of how the storage management is working to the software-defined storage and the ease of use coming from the user perspective and controlling storage requirements with metadata. So basically, those who own the metadata control where the data is located, and that's something new in storage. We're talking about 4 years, and now suddenly we are seeing that move towards that direction where we need to control it and where we need to go as a storage community. Now, what that is that basically if we have the control path as it currently is with the storage requirements, then basically it is completely out of band. And it still is at the moment at the control of storage administrator. And he tries hard, right? He has the provisioning, he's got the data protection to take care of, the data availability, the performance requirements, the data security. He's got all those questions coming back to the application developer. And the end user or the application guys normally don't have an idea on what they need to have. What kind of latency do you need? What's my performance profile? What's my backup profile? Do I want snapshots, yes or no? And all those things are questions that needs to be answered by the storage, the questions that storage admin needs to be answered. Otherwise, he can't provision the right thing. And then we get a mismatch between the application requirements versus the storage deliverables. And that's always the tough challenge we still face. And that needs to be changing. And the way we look at that is that with that metadata, we now have the link between both of them. And that allows ease of use and it allows far more flexibility through the metadata requirements. We're not there yet, as said, but that's absolutely things we're seeing moving forward, especially now with the containers coming on board and the people in the industry who are jumping on the containers and defining the usability for it and the APIs, how to use it, how to control it. That's really something we're looking forward to in the future, how things come together. But it's a clear road. It's a clear vision there is in the market. How do I engage from where we are now to a more sophisticated, user-driven storage community in the future? And software-defined is absolutely a key role playing in that field. So if we look at the orchestration, when you look at cloud management initiatives, right, it's there. You see it, for instance, in OpenStack with their Cinder API. They are really making the efforts to make life easy and provisioning from a single vendor initiative. Although you might have different storage vendors underneath it, the Cinder driver makes it look like it's one vendor and makes it like it's easier to manage. And that's something we in the industry look forward to. Pooling is a fundamental requirement. Of course, without pooling, without having pools, there's no real reason to set up policies and that kind of thing if you're not having those together. And the data services, large granularity at this point in time, like whole devices, file systems, and things like that. And we're moving toward a much finer granularity. But again, there are lessons to be learned in the field because it's a new area we're moving to from a storage perspective. It's very interesting, and we're just at the verge of redefining storage as a whole, whilst we bring in more and more capabilities to the end user. And of course, automation does require an API. It's not just interoperability. This goes far beyond the interoperability. Because if we have one API management set which controls the metadata and can send the metadata requirements back to the defined storage, regardless which brand, regardless which software-defined storage you use, you have an openness you're looking forward to, and that openness provides you a lower cost and a better serviceability to your end user. And that's exactly where we all need to go to. So if you're looking for developing software-defined storage, a couple of protocols are advisable from the standpoint we have. So it's the web-end protocols, management storage automation software. It's for instance, the cloud data management interfacing we provide from a SNIA perspective into the storage industry. And there are some more like open packages or the SBLIM, Pergos. You see them all here. That's the kind of thing we're looking for. If you need more resources, you can easily read through those. But that's the thing we are really embedding and bringing back to the market to make sure that whatever happens in that big, vast storage community with so many new vendors out there and so tough for customers to make the right choice, which direction do I take? This is sort of the guidance we provide. This is the way we want to move forward. In the end, to move forward is to have your choice of software here in the middle where, from the storage perspective, you can define all the serviceability layers you want to have. You can define all the policies you want. You can define the cost associated with it to help your users and your software deployers to easily use it at a cost-effective manner for now, but certainly for the future where the big, fast things are coming to us. And with that, it's the end of the presentation. I've got a couple of questions I will dive into now. And the first question is, how long is the data storage duration for a client? Is it unlimited? That's a very tough question whether it's unlimited. It should not be unlimited. But then again, it's when you talk about unlimited, is it the vast amount of storage you want to keep, or is it the life cycle of the storage? And if it's the life cycle of the storage, yes, that should be unlimited. And that's the challenge we have for the storage administrator perspective, because if you claim that data storage duration is unlimited, then within the software-defined storage, you must find ways to migrate from old to new. So if the hardware is written off, let's say after 5 years, how do I seamlessly migrate that from that old hardware to your new hardware without interoperability question to your customers, without outs for your customers? And that's where the data virtualization path starts to kick in as well to make that move seamlessly for the end user. And the next question is, what could be the impact on current storage administrator once the software-defined storage comes into place? The impact for the storage administrator is large. Why is it large? Because he will have different things to do. It's moving away from reactive firefighting to complete proactive. And it's thinking ahead of the game, thinking and looking at trend analysis coming from the metadata in future, building the right software layer or software storage layers, building the right policies, building the right security layers. The provisioning itself, do I have enough storage in the backend? And coming from the metadata trend analysis, I need to have different storage initiatives. I need to have different storage pools, more performance or more fast or scale out, scale up architectures without having the user to think about it. So it's not just, hey, am I still fine now? How are my backups doing? Hey, I'm missing a path there and I need to fix a disk, towards what are my users defining? What are my users demanding? How can I fulfill those requirements? And that's a far more interesting game for storage administrators, and that needs to be a guided road. It's not something easily done, but it's certainly a trend we will see changing in the field, and storage admins will have a nice challenge in that perspective. That was the last question. I thank you very much for your time and your presence. Looking forward to meet you in the field, and have a nice day. Thank you very much. Bye. Bye.